Hello, and welcome to Unit 2 for MGF1106. This is our geometry section. So we're going to talk about what you're going to be expecting for your geometry portion. I'm going to share my screen so you can see what is going to be happening for your next test. Here we go. All right, so on this test, you'll be given a formula sheet to study with as well as on your test. So your geometry formula sheet will look like this. You will use this as you are doing your homework while you're studying, and you will not need to bring it to the test, but your instructor will provide it for you. So you notice that there are no names of these shapes on the formula. So it is good that you will to know the names of the shapes, but what's important is you'll be given the shapes as well as the formulas. You will need to know when to use these things and how to use them. So getting your practice in is very important. Make sure you know how to properly use this sheet. All right. Here we are. We're moving into our lesson. Looking at Unit 2, here's our breakdown of our homework. We have 4 homework sections. Our first one, we'll talk about measurement. Then we'll look at triangles, perimeter and area, volume, and surface area. So to start off, we will look at measurement. It is going to be important that you memorize our conversions. So we will start off using our US conversions and metric conversions. That's the first thing you'll do on your test. First thing you'll do in your homework. So memorize these. Now we have a lot of measurement conversions. We're only going to look at these 3. So not much to memorize. Most of them we already know. That 1 foot equals 12 inches, 1 yard equals 3 feet, and 1 mile equals 5,280. And that last one there, we might have needed to look that one up, but that's okay. Here it is. So get those committed to memory. For the metric system, you'll need to know the metric expansion or breakdown for just this portion of the metric system. Now, we know it expands out a little further, but we're only going to look at just this portion. We'll talk about this on our next sheet, right? So we'll need to know these portions. Here we are with our next sheet, looking at just the US measurement system. Okay, so when we're dealing with our fractions, remember when we were asked to add just basic fractions? We know that we need a common denominator in order to do that. So when they ask us to add 1/2 plus 1/3, we see that our common denominator here is 6. In order to get these to be, our denominators to be 6, so that we can add these fractions successfully, we need to multiply each one of these fractions by a number that is going to make it our denominator 6. But our rule says what we do to our denominator, we need to do to our numerator. So here we have a 2. In order to make it a 6, I need to multiply it by 3. So in the form of 1, I'm going to take this 1/2 and multiply it by 3/3. Remember, when you multiply something by 1, you're not changing the value of the problem, just the appearance of the problem. Then plus 1/3. To make this 3 into a 6, we need to multiply it by 2. So in the form of 1, I'm going to multiply this fraction by 2/2. When we do not use units, the top and bottom of our fraction, that's our numerator and our denominator, need to be exactly the same number. That's in the form of 1. Okay? So that's why we have to do this, because we're not using unit fractions here. Finishing this up, we have 3 all over 6 plus 2 over 6 equals 5 over 6. And we can successfully add these two fractions. Now, when we are doing conversions, it's different, because now we're not concerned about having the exact same fraction, right, in the form of 1. We're actually using those conversions we went and we looked at here on our first page. We're going to transition these into fractions using these conversions in order to move from one measurement to another. So here we are actually using our unit fractions. Now, I'll go back as needed, but remembering what we just discussed or went over with our conversions. Here they want us to write our answers in the exact answers only. Remember, we talked about that in Unit 1. Exact answers would be an integer or reduced fraction. We looked at how to do that on our calculator. We do not want mixed fractions or mixed numbers, that's whole numbers and fractions together, or decimal approximations, okay? Here we go. When we are moving from one dimension to another, always start with what they give you. So we have 2 feet, put it over 1. So we want to make it into a fraction, because then we're going to multiply it by our conversion fraction. Now, remember, we want to go from feet to inches. And we know that there are 12 inches in a foot. When you are going from feet to inches, make sure you know you want to cancel out your feet. How we're going to do it, we want to make sure when we write our conversion fraction that our feet are in our denominator of our conversion fraction so that they cancel out. So we are going 12 inches are in 1 foot. So now we have our conversion fraction. We're multiplying it. Remember, we are not doing a ratio. Okay, this is not what we're doing here. So we can cross cancel. We are not cross multiplying. So here we are. We see that our feet will cross out and we're going to be left with inches, which is what we're looking for. And when we multiply across, 2 times 12 gives me 24 inches. So 2 feet equals 24 inches. Okay. Here we are, 15 feet going into yards. Start with what you know. They want us to go 15 feet, writing it into a fraction by putting a 1 under it. The conversion we need is to know how many feet can be found in a yard, right? There are 3 feet in a yard. So remember, we want to cancel out our feet. So that means that our feet need to be in our denominator. So we have 1 yard to 3 feet. All right, once we get our conversion all written out, now we can go ahead and start canceling. So we have our feet cancel. Feel free to cancel your numbers here if you see that. Here I see that 3 can cancel into 15. 3 goes into 15 5 times. That leaves me 5 times 1 is 5, 5 yards. Remember, when we're multiplying our fractions, we multiply numerator by numerator, denominator by denominator. Remember also you have your calculator. So please feel free to use it as you see fit, whatever your comfort level is. Okay. Go ahead and pause the video and try and work out C and D. And then you can come back and we can check our answers. All right, here we are moving forward. We have 2.5 miles going into feet. Again, they have 2.5. Feel free to write it as 2.5 miles over 1. And we know that our conversion from miles to feet, it says, how many feet did we say is in a mile? 5,280 feet is in 1 mile. Okay. Now we can cancel out our miles, and we can't cancel out any numbers. So we multiply across. We see here that we need our calculator. So when we multiply, we get 2.5. Make sure you put that decimal number in there, times 5,280, and that is going to give us should be a nice number, and it should be 13,200 feet. Now make sure you use some common thought here now. If you put in your calculator and it comes out to be 200 feet, then common sense would tell you there's more than 200 feet in 2.5 miles, right? So you might have put something in incorrectly. You should have a few thousand miles to a few thousand feet. It's logical, okay? So use that as a self-check a little bit. All right, let's see what we got for D. So we have 5 inches. We transition it to feet. How many inches in a feet? What's the conversion? The conversion you should have used was 1 foot to 12 inches. Where's the inches? In the denominator. Why again? Because we have to cancel out our inches. So always remember they should be adjacent to each other so that you can cancel them out. So 1 foot, 12 inches. All right, here we are canceling out our inches. We can't cancel out any of our numbers. So when we multiply across, we have our 5 on our top, 12 on the bottom, and then our dimensions of feet, what we wanted. Can't reduce that fraction. If we could, we know we would do that. So we have 5 over 12 feet. Remember, we want our exact answer, right? So if you put this in your calculator and you got that decimal, use your toggle button to bring it back. If you notice, we didn't really have to use our calculator much except for right here at C so far. Okay, let's go on down to E. 8 yards to feet. So yards to feet. 8 yards for 1, multiplying by our conversion. All right, go ahead and do it. What's our conversion? How many feet are in a yard? 3 feet. Good. So we have 3 feet to 1 yard. When we cancel here, there's no other thing that we can cancel like our numbers. When we multiply across, 8 times 3 give us 24 feet. Now, it's not too difficult, right? All we have to do is remember our 3 conversions. Once we get to a place where we might have to do more than 1 conversion to get to our goal, it's called a relay. So look at this next one. we have 15 inches, and they want to know how that converts to yards. But if you think about it, here, we don't have a direct conversion that goes from inches to yards. You see that? So we're going to have to do a little relaying. And think about what we know. Let's apply it now. So here we're starting again what we know. We have 15 inches all over 1. Now we can't get from inches to yards directly, but we can get from inches to, that's right, inches to feet first. So the conversion from changing our inches to feet, how many inches are in a foot? We said that. Okay, so we have 1 foot to 12 inches. There's our first conversion. Now let's go ahead and get our second conversion in there so we can do it all at the same time. So now that we technically have converted inches to feet, we know we can go from feet to yards. So now, how are we going to work that? How many feet are in our yards? 3 feet. So we have 1 yard to 3 feet. Again, keeping it in perspective, we know we got to cancel out our inches. We have to cancel out our feet to get to our ultimate goal of yards. All right, now we're ready to do our math. Here we are with the cancellation. Cancel out our inches, cancel out our feet. Can we do anything else? Oh, I see this 3. I can cancel with the 15. 3 goes to 15 5 times. Is there anything else? Nope, that's it. What do I have left on the top? 5 times 1 is just 5. And then 1 times 12 times 1 is just 12. And then I have my final dimensions of yards. So we have 5 over 12 yards. So this is about as difficult as it's going to get if this is what's difficult. You don't have a direct conversion from inches to yards, so we had to do a relay. So we had to do 2 conversions to get there. All right, pause the video here and see if you can do G and H. All right, you're going to see that you're going to have to do a little relay there, and then we can come back and check our answers. All right, let's take a look. So we have inches to miles. Don't have a direct link there. So here we are, 50,688 inches all over 1. We can't go from inches to miles, but we can go from inches to feet. And we know that there's 1 foot to our 12 inches. Okay. Then we can go from feet to miles, and we know that there are 1 mile to 5,280 feet. All right. Now we're canceling our inches, canceling our feet, and then here we are putting this in our calculator. It's fine. You can do it in pieces. You can do it as whole. Now, in your calculator, this is where it is good to have use all of your functions. In your calculator, you have parentheses, and they're usually located up above your keypad for your numbers. So if you want to put this whole expression that you have inside of your calculator and let it do the work for you, this is how it needs to look. You're going to put 50,688 divided by, use your parentheses, and then tell your calculator 12 times 5,280, and then close the parentheses, and then push equals. What does this do? You have to tell your calculator that you want all of that stuff, the 12 times the 5,280, to both be down in the denominator. So the parentheses tells the calculator that that stuff is being held together and being operated on together, and is down in the denominator. Of course, you can go ahead and multiply 12 times 5,280, get your answer, and then come back and do your numerator divided by that answer. There's lots of ways to do this in your calculator. You just need to take your time and do it, okay? You can do it also a piece at a time. But you have your parentheses functions, you can also do it this way. When we do it, you should get a decimal number that comes out, and it will come out as 0.8. Now, remember, we want the exact answer. 0.8, they may want that. Again, you're going to follow your homework. So if the homework wants you to give your decimal answer, give it. They want you to give the exact answer. They want you to give it as a reduced fraction. So if you get 0.8, then you know you can use your toggle button or your F to D or S to D button. If you're using your graphing calculator, you'll push your math button, and the first selection is fraction. Then you'll click on that, and then it'll change it to a reduced fraction, which should be 4/5. Again, getting familiar with your calculator is very important. You don't want to be on the test trying to fill and fumble with your calculator. So using the calculator that you're going to be using on the test is very important, and being efficient with it. Okay, here we are finishing up this page. We have miles to yards. So we have 1.3 miles. Going to yards now. Well, we know we can go from miles to feet. And so we have 5,280 feet to 1 mile. But then we can go from feet to yards. So we have 3 feet to 1 yard. There's our conversions. Going ahead and doing our cancellation. Miles go away, our feet go away. All right, so on the top we have 1.3 times 5,280 equals, and then divide by 3, and you should have gotten 2288. All right. I hope this helps. Okay. Making sure that you memorize those 3 conversion units. Right? Let's look at the metric system. Now, the metric system, again, here we are starting off with, is all about memorizing the structure. So here they start off with giving you some ways to memorize. These are called mnemonics. Now, we're probably familiar with this, but just didn't know the name or the term mnemonics. So remember when we were in algebra and we were learning our order of operations, maybe when you went to school, they taught you PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Or if you were learning how to factor or to use FOIL, FOIL first, outer, inner, last, to use that in order to check behind your factoring. That is called also mnemonic. Okay, so you have been using those mnemonics in different areas or different parts of your math life. So here's a good way of learning your metric system by coming up with a mnemonic yourself, or just using muscle memory. However you're going to do it, you need to learn this structure. So they've given you some ideas on how to do it. King Henry died while drinking chocolate milk. Of course he didn't, but hey. Kids hate dating because dating costs money. Yes, it does, but hey, it helps, right? So thinking about the leading letters here will help you to make sure you know what the structure of your metric system is. What are we talking about? Kilometers, hectometers, decameters, our base unit, which will be meters, decimeters, centimeters, millimeters. Now we've heard of some of these, probably all of them, but now we know the order or structure of them. Specifically, we're going to be looking at these three particular structures, where it deals with length, which is meters, mass, which is grams, volume, which is liter. Okay? One thing we definitely have to remember is that when you're doing your conversions, you cannot convert from one family to another. So you can't go from meter to gram or from gram to liter. You can only convert within its own family. Okay? What are we doing with this metric system? In essence, all we're doing is using a sliding scale. Now, we're not going to make it difficult. All we're doing is shifting our decimal point. But the root of all of it is making sure that you know this structure and where these things are located, so you'll know how to get from one thing to the other. So, we're doing a decimal shift. That's what we're doing. Let's start off. You see they gave us our structure, and this is what you'll do. When they ask you to convert, go ahead and write out your structure. It helps you to remember. While you're writing it, I suggest that you say them, because the act of writing it and saying it helps solidify it in your mind. Now they want us to go from 3 milliliters. They want to know, how does it convert to deciliters? Now look at this structure. They're talking about liters. That line represents where you're going to put your L. So let's put our L. Talking about our liters. Taking this first one nice and slow. Then go ahead and identify where you're starting. We're starting at ml, okay? Milliliters. This is where we're starting. Start there. Where do they want you to go? They want us to go here, the deciliters. So they want us to end right here. We want to know how many movements does it take for us to get from here to here. Now, if you think about it, this is just like doing our standard, when we were thinking about it, if you think back, we did this with scientific notation, right? When they asked us to move our decimal place, certain place to the left, certain place to the right, okay? And our exponent told us how many, It's kind of like that. So here we are. We're starting here. How many times do we have to move our decimal place in order to get to our next destination? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. We moved it 4 places to the left. So now that we know we're going to move it 4 places to the left, we're going to take our number. We see that our decimal point, although we don't actually see it, when we don't actually see it, we know it's right behind our number. So we have our 3. All right. We're going to take that decimal point and move it 4 places. Clean this up. Here's our 3. We're going to move it 4 places to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my new decimal point. I'm going to fill these spots with zeros. And so my new number converted is 0.0003. That's my number. Make sense? We're simply trying to see in what direction and how many places we need to move that decimal point in order to convert from one dimension to the next. Let's try the next one. Now we took our time with that first one. Let's roll with these. We're going 0.07 kilograms to centigrams. All right, here we go. They want us to use grams. I'm going to put my G in there. All right. They want us to start here. And they want us to end here. How many places do I need to move? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places to get there. 5 places to the right. I'm going to move my decimal point 5 places to the right. So my number should be, here's 0.07, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Add my zeros. That gives me 7,000. And put a comma there just to make it pretty. 7,000. Are we feeling okay? Pause the video here and continue on, and then we'll check our answers. I'll see you in a bit. All right, here we go. We're going from DM to HM. We're doing meters. Here's M. All right, we're going from DM here to HM, backwards here, and end there. How many movements? 1, 2, 3. All right, so 3 decimal places to the left. That gives me 0.1276. Now, if you put the 0 here, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. All right, so I'll put it there if it makes us feel better. There's my number. D. Now watch it here now. Can we do it? No. Look, they gave me grams and they want me to go to, you see that? Meters. Can't do that. Not in the same family. So we can't convert, okay? Can't convert it. Make sure you're paying attention. Different family, right? E, we're using grams. Okay, that goes away. So now they want us to go from kilograms, so start here, to decagrams, that's right here. How many places is that? 2 places to the right. So 2 places to the right, 91.4. I know you got it. Last one. Liters, looks good. I'm going to put my L in. They want me to go from decaliters, start here, to kiloliters, end here. Going backwards, 1, 2. 2 places to the left gives me 0.05. So, very simple. What's the most difficult? If there is going to be a difficult part, memorizing your structure. But you can make that very easy by how? Finding a mnemonic or some way to help you remember the structure. You can come up with your own. You can use theirs. You can come up with a song. You can come up with a story of some sort, okay? As long as it helps you to remember the structure. Then you can write it out every time you need it, and then you should be good to go with your conversion, right? Good luck with it, and I hope this lesson helps you out.